The debate is over. The Jets have answered the question as to what they are going to do with Sam Darnold. The answer, they're going to trade him. And yesterday, it became official. Sam Darnold is now a Carolina Panther. The Jets have sent Sam Darnold to the Panthers in exchange for a 6th-round pick this year and a 2nd-round pick and a 4th-round pick next year. So the Jets are now in a position to draft a quarterback 2nd overall. That quarterback likely going to be Zach Wilson at a BYU. And let me start from a personal note here. I wish Sam Darnold all the best. He was failed by the Jets organization. I have no idea how good Sam Darnold can potentially be. But I do know we never got a chance to fully see it with the Jets because the Jets failed him. Poor offensive line play, poor weapons, awful coaching led by the immortal Adam Gase. So I wish Sam the best. He took everything in stride in New York. He handled himself the right way. He seems like a great dude. I think he has a chance to go to Carolina and play very well in an offense with good players and some good coaching around him. Joe Brady's the offensive coordinator there. He's the guy that elevated Joe Burrow from mid-round draft pick to the number 1 pick in the draft. Matt Rule should be the Jets coach right now, but the Jets hired Adam Gase. He's a good coach. So I'm happy that Sam gets to go to a team in the NFC and gets to go to a team that has some weapons in place to try and maximize his talent. Sam is still just 23 years old. But this was a trade the Jets had to make. You had to move on from Sam. We've talked about it ad nauseum on this show. It was too big of a risk to stick with Darnold going into year 4 over taking a quarterback in a loaded quarterback class when you're sitting there with the 2nd pick coming off a 2-14 season. You had to take the quarterback. It was not Sam Darnold versus Zach Wilson. It was Sam Darnold's contract versus a rookie quarterback's contract. The tie would go to the rookie. And getting the Jets organization on the same page is so important. Joe Douglas, the GM, got to pick his head coach. Joe Douglas, the GM, now gets to pick his quarterback. Had he stuck with Sam, Darnold became his guy. Would you rather bank on fixing a player or going to get your own player? In theory, Sam could be good with the Jets, but it's too big of a risk. And if his ceiling is only he's Alex Smith or Ryan Tannehill, that's not good enough to win a Super Bowl with, so you got to move on. I'm from the school of keep getting quarterbacks in your building until you find the guy. And I love Sam, but it's too big of a risk to bank on him being the guy when he just hasn't played well enough, even with all the issues around him. He hasn't played well enough to justify giving him a 4th year and sticking with him over taking one of these quarterbacks. You just couldn't do it. So I look at this trade, and I think it's a win for both sides. You know, sometimes you have people that come on the air and say, oh, this team won the deal. I think both teams won this trade. I think that's how you have to look at it. From a Jets standpoint, we know they had to trade Sam. It was the most logical thing to do. And to get a 2nd and a 4th-round pick next year for the guy, I think that's an excellent return. I think that's a return that if you're a Jet fan, you should be very excited about. We were told the market was drying up for Sam. They'd be lucky to get a 4th-round pick. To get a 2nd and a 4th for a guy that apparently had no market, I think is pretty good. The Jets now have 2 1s and 2 2s next year. The Jets now have 21 total picks over the next 2 drafts. 7 picks within the first 2 rounds of the next 2 drafts. That should excite every Jet fan. They're now in a perfect position to build around a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract. The organization is all on the same page, and if the Jet fans that love Joe Douglas so much truly love him, then be happy that he now gets to pick his quarterback. He's no longer tied to a pick that Mike McCagnon made, his predecessor. So I think the Jets made a great deal here. 2nd-round pick, 4th-round pick next year, add to the draft capital. Remember, those picks could be traded for players as well. See, the Jets have so many picks now, doesn't necessarily have to mean that they're taking players in the draft. You're now in position when someone becomes available that you want, you can go out there and get that player. When a DeAndre Hopkins gets traded, you could get him. When a Stephon Diggs gets traded, you could get him. So the Jets have draft capital now to wheel and deal if they wanted to go down that route. I think it's a great trade for the Jets. Great trade. I think Joe Douglas continues to do a great job in these trades. He fleeced Seattle in the Jamal Adams trade. Did a great job, I thought, with the Leonard Williams trade. It was never going to work out for Leonard Williams with the Jets. Jets are set up. Douglas has talked about building through the draft. Well, the Jets are now in position to do just that. And the idea that they can't build around Wilson if they use the second pick on a quarterback, it's nonsense. Not when you have pick 23, pick 34 this year. I mean, the Jets have 4 picks in the top 86 this year. Not to mention all the picks they have next year that I just laid out. They're in a great position if they hit on the picks. And that's a big if. But Jet fans seem to like Joe Douglas. I thought his first draft was very good. Mekhi Becton, Denzel Mims, Ashton Davis. Hell, even Brandon Mann, the punter they took in the 6th round from Texas A&M, had a very good rookie year. When was the last time the Jets had a draft where they had 4 impact players on their team? 2006? What, DeBrickashaw and Nick Mangold? It's been a while. It was a good first draft for Joe Douglas. And I think it's been a good free agency so far for Joe Douglas. The Jets are trending in the right direction, whether people want to admit it or not. This team now with competent coaching and a better roster is going to be vastly improved in 2021, regardless who's playing quarterback. And then from the Panther perspective, the Panthers had no other options. Darnold's the best of what is left, but I think it's a good deal for them. A 2nd-round pick and a 4th-round pick next year, it's not that steep if Sam ends up being a really good player. And he's still just 23 years old. And if you're the Carolina Panthers and Deshaun Watson's no longer an option and you're picking 8th in the draft, you did not have any realistic options to improve at quarterback. You didn't get Stafford. You couldn't make another obvious trade for any other quarterback that's out there. Darnold's the best of what is left. And there's enough upside with Sam where you feel like maybe you found your future franchise quarterback. And say it doesn't work out, you didn't mortgage your future and set your team back if Sam is not your guy. They picked up his 5th-year option, so they're making him the starter. They'll probably trade Teddy Bridgewater somewhere. And you find out what you have with Darnold. You know, draft Penei Sewell now, 8th overall, to protect Sam at left tackle. Give Sam real weapons, which they have with McCaffrey and DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. This is by far and away the best supporting cast Sam has had and the best coaching staff Sam has had, by far, in his career, including college at USC. So Darnold's the best of what is left, but there's real upside with Sam in Carolina. And in a division that doesn't have Drew Brees anymore, Falcons seem to be in flux. Tom Brady's Tom Brady, but he is 43. Eventually, there'll be some change in that division, you think. Who knows, though? Carolina has a chance, if Sam is their guy, to have a long-term answer at quarterback in their own division, and that's important. Once the Deshaun Watson stuff no longer became an option, this was the next best option for Carolina. At number 8, they were going to get what? The 5th best quarterback in this draft? I mean, they could move up. But are they moving up to number 4? Are the Falcons helping Carolina get a quarterback? No way. Not in the same division. And if they wanted to move up, you're trading away a fortune to maybe get what? The 4th best quarterback, if that's the case? Because now, quarterbacks go 1, 2, and 3 in this draft. Maybe 4, but let's say Atlanta doesn't go quarterback. Well, then if you're the Carolina Panthers, you got to move up to 5 and trade with the Bengals. You got to do something. Because if you wait around at 8, you're not going to get the guy you want. So that's why they had to make this deal. But as a diehard Jets fan, I wish Sam Darnold all the best. It pains me that this is what had to happen. It's the right move, but it still hurts. Because when the Jets drafted Sam Darnold, I finally felt like they got the guy. I loved everything about Darnold. His personality, his playmaking ability, his leadership. It stinks that it got to this point. Basically, the Jets need to do the exact opposite for Zach Wilson of what they did for Sam Darnold the last 3 years. Because it's criminal how they treated Darnold. Criminal. For Sam Darnold's 2 coaches to be Todd Bowles and then Adam freaking Gase is a joke. So I wish Sam all the best. I think he has a chance to be very good with Carolina. And if he's not good, then you know what? A second and a fourth round pick is not setting your franchise back if you're the Panthers. If he's not good, then you'll be picking towards the top of the draft. You'll get your quarterback at some point anyway. But Sam Darnold's still just 23. He's younger than Joe Burrow, to put it in perspective. I mean, all the factors and why Sam Darnold has struggled, obviously, he's responsible for some of it. But I truly believe a lot of it is because of the circumstance. I have no idea just how good Sam will be. I think maybe his upside's capped to about what Ryan Tannehill is, let's say. But he's clearly better than what we've seen so far during his 3 years with the Jets. We've seen the flashes. If you watch every snap like I have, you know Sam can play when he has had the right circumstances around him, which has been few and far between. So good luck to Sam Darnold. I think he's going to be a very good player in Carolina. And I think the Jets are now set up to build around Zach Wilson and win big going forward.
Thanks for watching the full YouTube video. If you like what you saw, then please subscribe to my page for more content. Thank you.